નમસ્કાર, હું આદર્શ છું. વેલકમ ટુ આદર્શ એજ્યુકેશન સોસાયટી.
Standard 10th, Subject Science, Chapter 60, Sustainable Management of Natural Resources. Dear students, we have completed the lesson and we will discuss some of the important questions of this topic. First one, what changes can you make in your habits to become more environment friendly? To make the environmental friendly, what changes you can involve in your habits? So first we will say like this: use of paper bags and jute bags instead of the plastic bags. So instead of plastic bags, if you are using the jute bags and paper bags, you can save the environment. And next one is walk or cycle to cover the short distances instead of using the vehicle. Do not throw garbage anywhere. Use of renewable resources. Renewable means making a new one. Renewable resources and biodegradable resources. Biodegradable means it can be easily decomposed. So these resources you have to use. And switching off electrical appliances whenever not required. So this also we have to keep in mind. Sometimes what we are doing without even by knowing or not knowing, and we will go as it is from the rooms. So it should be switched off whenever we are not in the use. And do not pollute and waste water. Say not to waste water and not to pollute water. So this way, these are the environmental friendly. Okay, you can write still other ways also, or still other points also. Okay, now we'll go for question number 2. What is biodiversity and what is the main aim of conservation of biodiversity? So this one. What is biodiversity? Biodiversity is the number and range of variety of species. So it is the number and varieties of different species or different living organisms of life forms. For example, here given bacteria, fungi, ferns, flowering plants, nematodes, insects, and birds and reptiles. So each in an area. So each even smaller organisms, even microscopic organisms. So here also there. See, each and every organisms are so important to maintain the ecosystem. Okay, these are all the part of the ecosystem. So this is a biodiversity. And what is the aim is given? The main aim of conservation is to try and preserve the biodiversity. To try preserving, to keeping, protecting the biodiversity that we have inherited. The practice of passing from generation to generation. And what are what are the biodiversity hotspots? Forests are known as biodiversity hotspots. So which one? To whom we are calling? The forests are called as biodiversity hotspots. Okay, next one. These the stakeholders. These the stakeholders. S-T-A-K-E. Okay, these the S-T-A-K-E. Stakeholders that we need to look for the conservation of forests. Okay, to whom we are calling the stakeholders? The stakeholders, the people, those who are directly and indirectly involving, taking care of the forests or involving the forests. So they are called as stakeholders. Okay, list is given. Here you have to mention the list. Okay, first one I will say that the people living in and around the forests. Those who are living in and around the forest, they are the stakeholders. Why? Because they are dependent on forest products for various needs for their lives, even timber as well as fruits, roots, even branches of trees. Okay. And second one, the forest department of the government. So they are also, it owns the land and control the resources from the forest. So they are also stakeholders. And the next one is the industrialists. They use various raw materials, essential needed materials, and are not dependent on the forests in any area. They are exploit. But the thing is, the industrialist peoples, they are exploiting the forests. They are exploiting. Okay, overusing and destroying them. And the fourth one is the nature and wildlife enthusiasts. The nature and wildlife lovers. They help to conserve the nature in the original form, the pristine form. Yes, So these are all the stakeholders. Okay, next we will see that write a note on Chipko Andolan. See, write a note on the Chipko Andolan. So Chipko Andolan means what? The Chipko Andolan means hug the trees movement. Hug means embracing the trees. This Andolan was launched by the local people, village people of Reni Garhwal high up in the Himalayas during the early 1970s. The Chipko Andolan was the result of grassroots level effort. So means basic grassroots level effort means the basic effort to end the alienation of the people, to change the people mind toward the interest of the forest or benefit of the forest, awareness of the forest. The movement originated from the dispute between, how the movement started, dispute, quarreling between the local villagers and logging contractors. Logging means wood contractors, forest resources who are cutting, they are logging contractors, who has been allowed to fell the trees in the forest close to the village. So they came the one day and they wanted to cut the trees. On the specific day, contractors, workers appeared in the forest to cut the trees, while the men folk were absent. Men folk, male peoples are absent those days. Undeterred means without discouraging. The women of the village reached the forest. The woman came and clasped the tree trunks. They clasped means what? Embracing the tree trunks, holding the tree trunks, and preventing the workers from felling the trees. If you want to cut the trees, then cut us. So like this way, they embrace the trunks. They are not allowed these contractors to cut the trees. Though the Chipko Andolan movement quickly spread across the community. So in this way, awareness given all the communities and media and forced the government also to whom the forest belongs to rethink their priorities as well as in the use of the forest produce. So in this way, they are given awareness to the people as well as government. So this is the Chipko Andolan movement. So next question is, why should we conserve forests and wildlife? Why you have to conserve the forests and wildlife? So we should conserve the forests and wildlife because they provide us raw materials. Whatever the raw material is essential, essential materials for various industries. And it also provides fruits, vegetables, fodder for the, that fodder means for the domestic animals, giving food, fodders, grass, etc. And even providing medicines, herbs, gums, resin, provide various habitat to the various animals, prevent soil erosion and flood also, provide sources for economic and social growth sources. It is also play an important role in maintaining the carbon dioxide and oxygen cycle. So balance in the atmosphere and also regulating the Earth's temperature. So that is why we conserve the forest as well as wildlife. So this is the answer of this question. So why should we conserve the forest and wildlife? The next question is suggest some approaches towards the conservation of forests. So suggest some approaches towards the conservation of forests, preserving the forests. One thing is indiscriminate felling of trees. So without thinking, felling of trees for the purpose of the timber or the purpose of the wood, timber must be reduced. So must be reduced, or as far as possible you have to minimize it. So second one, the forest of ecosystem must be protected from the fuel starved villagers. So the starved means hungry. The local people, they will not get the food. Fodder starved cattle and commercial exploitation. So these all also important to towards the conservation of forests. And next one is replantation of trees. Replant. You have to plant the trees and also plant the indigenous species, the native, whatever the local species, to level up the forest in all the available land. So this is the way. And next one is participation, involving the local people, and villagers must be taken in the conservation of forests. So we should involve the local people and as well as villagers so that we can conserve the forests. And next one is scientific research, monitoring, scientific methods, and spreading awareness about conservation of forests through the education. So these are all the some approaches towards the conservation of forests. The next one is find the ways to reduce our consumption of coal and petroleum. How we can reduce or minimize the consumption of coal and petroleum is given. Some try, see, these are the ways. First one is take a public transport instead of using the personal vehicles. So you know that instead of using the personal vehicles, so you have to go by bus. This is one, or public transport. And second one, use CFL instead of bulbs. So use CFL is one. Full form of CFL is compact fluorescent lamp. So fluorescent lamp you have to use instead of the ordinary bulbs. And install solar water heater. So this way, and walk or cycle to nearby places instead of using the vehicles or own vehicles. See, walk or cycle to nearby the places instead of going by the motorized or by using the personal vehicles. And switch off the vehicles off at red lights. So whenever red light is there or crossing the road, so red light is there, you have to switch off it. And use pressure or solar cookers to cook the food. So this is also the way of consumption of coal and petroleum. Wearing an extra sweater instead of using the heater. So in this way, so whenever the cold season is there, you can wear the extra sweater instead of using the sweater. This is also the way of consumption of the fuel. And taking the stairs instead of using the lift. See, whenever you are going upstairs, so you have to go by lift instead of lift. You have to go by stairs instead, by steps. And the next one is using the efficient engines that ensure the complete combustion of fuels. So what we have to do? You have to use for efficient or effective engines. So that way it saves the fuels or for the complete combustion of them. So what will happen? So environment pollution will not be there. So these are the points of reducing our consumption of coal and petroleum. Now another question arises here: why should we use or why we should use the coal and petroleum judiciously, wisely? Why? So we should use the coal and petroleum, you know that they are the fossil fuels which are exhaustible, which will be get over by using, and non-renewable. So reserves of coal and petroleum are limited. It takes million years for the nature to replenish it. Replenishment, renew it. It takes millions of years. So burning of fossil fuels pollutes the atmosphere. So carbon monoxide is a greenhouse gas which leads to the global warming. So increase the average temperature of the earth. So that is why we should use coal and petroleum judiciously, or you can say economically. So these are some of the important questions of these lessons. Okay, students, so go through it and we will. Okay, this lesson is over. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you for joining us.